Hello students, welcome back to our virtual classroom. Right now we will be having our personal development class. Okay, so are you ready for a new lesson? If you're ready, our lesson for this week is all about developing the whole person. So it will be composed of two specific lessons which we will be discussing along our topic. Okay, so before we proceed, let us have a run through first with the different objectives that we want to attain or achieve at the end of this discussion. Okay, so the first one is to examine the relationship among the different aspects of development to understand one's thought, feelings, and behaviors. Second is express one's development in the different aspects of development in relation to their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors again. And of course, you have to show their ways and how to develop themselves holistically with emphasis to their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Another objective is we can evaluate one's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in relation to actual life situations. So we will be having mga situations later nga real life situations, and we will be evaluating them. Okay. And second to the last is to understand the connections of their own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors to actual life situations. And of course, lastly is you are expected to display sincerity in accomplishing all exercises in this module. Okay, so if you don't have any questions related to our objectives, let us proceed to our first activity for this topic or discussion. Okay, so it's all about aspects of my development. So, unsaon man ni nato? Direction is, you will be writing your name at the inner circles. Later na ako ipakita nga circle, no? Which is, mo inyuhang kopyahon sa inyuhang papel, unya, magbuhat mo ani niya, with the guides also nga ako ang i-provide later. So, you'll be creating this circle. So, in each segment, there are actually 8 segments. You will be writing 2 to 3 descriptions of what you think, feel, and act, no? Kung sa inyong nahuna-hunaan, kung sa inyong nabatian, and kung sa inyong mga reaction related to the different aspects nga naa akong ihatag as well. So, 8 sila ka buok. Again, you only have to provide 2 to 3 descriptions. Okay? So, unsa man siyang mga guided or mga descriptions. The first one, in the first segment, before we proceed to that, mao ni siya example, no, maninyohang buhaton. So, I have already written there kung asa si number 1, segment number 2, number 3, but if you wish to change also, kung ganahan mo ang number 1 kaya naa diri sa kinatumyan or nas kinaubsan, that is just fine. Okay? So, that is okay. Ako na siyang gihatag just for example purposes. But, in ana ang circle ng inyong buhaton with an inner circle as well. Para in the inner circle, do not forget to write your name. Okay. So, now let us proceed to mga guided nga, mga, the guides kung sa inyong ibutang per segment. So, in the first segment, it's all about your physical self. So, mayroon kang physical, di ba? It's very easy to understand. It's all about your physical aspect. So, includes the descriptions of your height, your weight, your facial appearance, the quality of your skin, your hair, your description of your body areas such as your neck, chest, mga waist in your legs, feet, so, and etc. or other parts of your body. Second segment is all about your intellectual self. Intellect. So, it's all about your reasonings. It's all about intelligence. So, any nga aspect or any nga segment, you will be including there your assessment of how well you reason and you solve problems, your capacity to learn and create, as well as your general amount of knowledge, wisdom you have acquired, and insights you have. Okay? And the third segment, what you need to provide is your emotional self. When you say emotional self, emotions. So, emotions gani, it's all about feelings. Ang feelings nimo. So, it's about the typical feelings that you seldom feel. The feelings that you try to avoid. Ano kay ha? No? Nabay mga feelings nga, if possible lang atong lang likayan kay if ever atong ma-feel siya bas hindi nato makontrol. So inana ba? Ang uban kay they avoid nga masuko sila kay once masuko sila og di nila makontrol. So that is just an example. So also mga enjoyed most and associated with each other. So muna imong mabutang nga mga description or mga imong ma-input ngadto sa imuhang segment number 3. Next segment is all about your sensual self. So sa sensual self pod, it's all about how you feel as a sensual person. So you'll be using your senses at this. So what do you use the most? Asa man ka mas mura og mas permi nimong gamiton or mas feel nimo mas develop siya? Is it your sight, your hearing, your speaking, your smelling, or your touching skills? Diba? And how do you feel about the different ways you take in information? Through your eyes, ears, mouth. That's actually mouth, not mouth. Your nose, your pores, and skin. And the fifth segment, it's all about the interactional self. Interaction. So it's all about socializing. Diba? Maki-interact ka. So in this segment, you can include your descriptions of your strengths and weaknesses in intimate relationships and relationships to friends, family, co-students, and strangers in social settings. So you can describe the strengths and weaknesses which your friends and family have noticed. You can also describe what kind of son or daughter, brother or sister you are. So, pwede nimo siyang ma-describe kung unsa ka nga pagka-anak, pagka-kuya, pagka-ati ba karon, pagka-amiga or amigo, or pagka-estudyante, diba? So, diha nimo mabutang sa interactional self. So, how do you interact with other people? And on the sixth segment, it's all about your nutritional self. Nutrition. Oh, moabot yun ang word nga nutrition, no? Ang musod sa utok kay pagkaon. Or so, yes, and that is also right. Because in nutritional self, it includes how do you nourish yourself. What foods do you like and dislike? As well as why or what do you like and dislike about this food. So, example, I so love spaghetti. Diba? I so love spaghetti. So, what do you like about spaghetti? Unsa man? Well, because ingon sila nga pansit para pataas sa kinabuhi or ang past ko, diba? Muna na mga totoo ba? Aside from that, kay mura og sa una man good kung maka-spaghetti ka, dato na ka or nindot na kaayo. Inana nga na fulfillment. Or you just love to eat spaghetti kay lamian man jud ka, labi na og maayo pagkatempla. So, you will have your reasons why you like this and why you don't like this. So, inana ang mga buhaton sa nutritional self. Okay? Now, on the seventh segment, it's all about contextual self. So, in this segment, this could be the areas of maintenance of your living environment. So, like your reaction to light, to temperature, to space, to weather, to color, sounds, and seasons, and your impact on the environment. None. And lastly is on your spiritual self for your 8th segment. So spiritual self, so this could include your belief in your religion, your reactions about your spiritual connections to others, your feelings about your spiritual development and history, and thought about your metaphysical self. So diha pud segment diha ng imong ibutang ang imuhang mga thoughts mapanguna-huna about sa usa ka relihiyon, unsay reaksyon nimo ana, unsay feelings nimo ana nga imong connections with the supreme being, connections nimo sa laing tawo. So that is under your spiritual self. Okay? So again ha, mauna ang inyuhang first activity. I do hope nga nakasabot ra mo sa inyuhang buhaton. So you only have to provide 2 to 3 descriptions or mga nga related sa kaning mga 8 different guides nga ako ang gihatag per segment. Okay? So do not forget to turn in your work para in taon maka-check ko sa inyong trabaho and I could give you a grade for this activity. Okay, so moving on. Mag-move on sa ta. Now, so one of our objective gang. Actually, objective di. So one of our objective kaniha was all about developing holistically or holistic development. So sa mga holistic development, ma'am? No, holistic. Unsa man gid na siya? So, may holistic development, it refers to human development that is meant to involve all, Take note of that. It's about involving all the aspects of a person. No, tanang aspeto sa katao. Imo ha siyang i-consider. So, this is a development designed to accommodate physical development, intellectual growth, emotional development, social development, and spiritual development. So, mo ni ang mga different aspects nga ato ang i-consider. Again, 5 physical, intellectual, emotional, your social, and spiritual. So, those are the different aspects nga ato ang i-discuss in relation with developing a person holistically. Okay, so now let us start with physical development or the physical aspect. So sa physical aspect, it's the process of physical growth in which your height, your length, your mass, or etc. na mga changes. Diba? So, naamoy subject ani before which deals with the different changes that you encounter sa inyuhang pagbibinata, pagdadalaga. I think it's in ESP. So, naana siya gi-discuss ninyo no ang inyong mga changes sa pagdadalaga at pagbibinata. Or when you are in an adolescence stage, you will be experiencing a lot of physical changes, diba? Na ay mamurot, na ay manubo, na ay mga unsa pa man diha, may maporma. So daghan kayong mga changes sa ato ang lawas physically. Okay? So the second aspect also is your intellectual development. Intellectual development, so meaning magkatiguang data jud na siya development pod intellectually, diba? Starting from a baby nga ang babies good considered na sila like kuha na sila mura na sila na sila sponge nga brain. Sponge kay diba, if you can observe a sponge, yang i-absorb tanan kung unsay naa diha, right? So it won't matter kung kuan ba na sabon ang imong gikuan, tubig ba na, basta kay iha nang i-absorb as long as it's water or liquid ay not really water, but as long as it is liquid and pwede niyang masuyok. So it's the same thing with kids or babies. Their brains are like sponge, so everything that you teach them, kabuang man na siya, tinarong man na siya, or everything that you show them, wala na siyang kopyahon. Okay? They would think nga it's right because it's what you're doing as an adult. So that is why if you have mga baby sa balay, panghod, pag umangkon, you have to make sure nga you show them what is right. Because again, ilahang brain is sponge niya, they would think nga imong gibuhat is sakto. So, di mo gusto guro mo dako sila nga bullies, diba? Or usa ka problema sa ato ang community. So, let's show them what is right and what needs to be done properly. Okay, so when dealing with intellectual development, it is divided into 6 classes. Unsa man na siya? The first one is knowledge, the most basic actually knowledge, like memorization. Everyone can have this. Hindi mo na siyang tunan. Memorization. So that's knowledge. But the second one is comprehension, which is also important. Higher na siya sa knowledge because it's not enough nga you know how to read, diba? You're knowledgeable about it, but unfortunately you don't know the meaning or the importance. Mo na siya sa comprehension. You will know how to comprehend, diba? And also the another class is application. Then of course analysis. So synthesis, and lastly is the evaluation class. So if you can observe as kuan siya magkabugat ang iyahang classification sa iyahang mental process or thinking capability. Kay when you get into evaluation stage, meaning you can now evaluate, diba? Mas maka-evaluate na ka which is right, which is wrong. Mas dako na ka og higher na imong scope sa imong capacity sa pag-understand. So makuha na nimo sila tanan. So dali na kang makasabot. Maayo na ana nga maayo pagka-develop na ang imong intellect ana nga aspect. Okay? And that is our purpose. It's not just all about as students or as teachers our purpose is not to produce students who can read and write alone, but also to comprehend and also to apply their knowledge into their day-to-day lives, to analyze situations, to synthesize, and of course to evaluate situations so that you will be doing what is right and not the wrong things. Okay? So dili man stop diha sa classroom ang pag-memorize ra sa exam. Mo bitaw na nga if you can observe diba ninyo mga quizzes kay mostly labi nagnay why, if you are like this, if you're like that. So that is actually developing your other classes of thinking and mental process. Okay? So now let us proceed. The third aspect is the emotional development. Emotions, again, it's all about the feelings. So it refers to the children's growing ability to identify and understand their own feelings. Maka-name na kasi mga gipang bati-bati. Gipang bati-bati. So, bati amam, bating kaanyag. Or yung, mas makasabot na kasi mga gipang bati. So, may siya nga term sa Bisaya. Gipang feel. Or sa mga nahibatian. So, accurately read and understand the feelings of others. So, aside from knowing what you feel, you will also be understanding through observation. Kung unsay na barian na sad sa ubang tao, diba? You will now be more sensible and sensitive to others' emotions and not only your emotions, diba? So, di man pwede nga ikaw na lang pirmi sabton. Time will come that you also need to understand the feelings of other people. Okay? So, also manage the way they feel, the way you behave, develop empathy for others, and build and keep good relationship with friends, family, and others. Okay? Now, the fourth one is all about social development. Oh, social. So, unsa man social? It refers to how a child develops friendship and other relationships, as well as how a child handles conflicts with peers. Unsa niya pag-handle, unsa niya pagdala ang iyahang mga problema masinatian with his classmates, with his barkada, with her friends, diba? Unsa niya pag-handle ang mga problema or conflicts nga nahitabo between you and your other playmates or friends. So it is the manner by which an individual interacts with other individuals or group of individuals. So muna sa social development. So like a child or a person who is always staying inside, okay, di man sad maayo nga magsige na lang pud ka og tuon, wala na lang pud kay social life. Now, when you say social life, it is not just all about being active in social media, no? Basin mingon mga apil mo active sa Facebook, ma'am, sa unsa pa na diha, sa Twitter, ma'am, unsa pa na diha. No, it's not just about the social media, because what is very important also is your real scenario interaction with other people. Di man sad kaayo no nga magsabalay, ma lutuin ako, di mo nang teksa ni mong mama, ma, or imong chatan, ma kuan lutuin ko, anak o mga unata, so bati sad kaayo. So it should be a real scenario, di lang kay limited ta sa social media. Okay, now before we proceed to that, let's continue kay Mary nabaylo akong slide. So the last one aspect is the spiritual development. So mayroon kag spiritual development, it is a process through which a child develops proper attitudes. Diba? Nana diri masulod nato ang atong behaviors towards other people. Kay it is the attribute naman nga muhatag nato og consciousness og beliefs, diba, sa atong mga values og virtues nga mas mo guide nato isip sa katao. Kung unsay imong gituhuan, mo man atong i-apply, diba? Kung mo believe ka nga kana bitaw ang pagbuhat og maayo is a good thing as well, then if you believe on that and then you apply that, then you have a very good relationship with other people, with the people in your community, diba? So mo po na siya sa spiritual development. So your belief to God, your relationship with other people, you follow mga rules and regulations, because you know that disobedient is not a good thing, no? Kabaw man ta og unsay mga right thing, pero unfortunately kay tungod sa gibuhat man sa kadaghanan, ato na lang pong buhaton, diba? Pero again, in the final judgment, it's not all about what kuan man good. It's not about what they do. It's all about what you do. Well, that's what I believe, diba? Lain-lain man taog ka ng mga belief pod. And I respect kung sa inyo ang pagtuo sa inyo ang kinabuhi. Okay, so let's go back to the kuan. So since we're done with the with the 5 different aspects, so unsa man gid ng holistic development? So it's a process of self-actualization and learning, diba? With the last topic that we had, which was all about the knowing and understanding oneself, like self-conceptualizing gid ato, right? So may holistic development. So kani siya proseso ni siya nga imong mas ilahon nimo imong kaugalingon in terms of your physical, of your mental, of your social, emotional, and spiritual aspects. So imuha na siyang i-combine tanan, and that makes the whole you, diba? So that is holistic development. Now let us have a story or a scenario let us meet Therese. So, kinsa man si Therese. So, you can read with me, or you can just you can just listen as well. That is fine. Now, for the past 3 nights, Therese has not been getting enough sleep from her usual 8 hours because of her forthcoming final exams. Today is the day of her final exams. She wakes up feeling drowsy and with a headache. Her body feels like a ton, and she has to literally drag herself out of the bed to get up and prepare for school. Christine, who is looking at her quizzically, and her parents at the breakfast table, immediately the family gets affected by Therese's behavior. Christine is thinking her sister is having a bad mood. She thinks Therese woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and therefore ignores her as well. Her mom thinks she is uptight about the final exams. Mentions about it, but was just given a stare by Therese, who mumbles that she is okay and just tense about the exams. Her dad simply looks at her, gives some comforting words of support, and continues with his breakfast. In school, all the noise and chatter and the pressure of taking the finals so early in the morning agitated Therese. She is not smiling today, which is very unlike her usual self. Her temper is short, irritable, and she is giving nasty look at people who continue to annoy her. She goes over her notes and books, tries to memorize some phrases and concepts, but her throbbing headache makes it almost impossible to cram. She thought of taking some pain reliever earlier, but decided a can of her favorite caffeine-laden carbonated cola drink would help. But this is providing her very little relief. She slams the book and lays her head on the table. Therese feels miserable. She feels unsure of herself and unhappy. She is tense and nervous. Her seatmate stays away from her. Although her seatmate tries to strike up a conversation, Therese just moves her head in response. However, deep inside, she knows what is affecting her and tries to put things under control. She starts to pray silently, and when the bell rang, she raises her head and faces the day and the final exams. Although still feeling drowsy, she calms herself down and mentally prepares for what is up ahead. Wow, diba? Oh, nice kay si Therese. She knows herself really. And she wants to control her emotion. Now let's process. Let us have some questions related to Therese. So the first one is, if you were one of Therese's classmates, how would you feel and how would you react to what you're witnessing? So kung ikaw classmate ni Therese niya, nakita ni mo nga sige na siya kulis maot ang dagway no niya, it's unusual because supposedly magsige naman siya guan tingsi niya, kuan man ni siya sige like smile niya, karon nakita jud nimo nga mura og kuan ka na bitong tansya or suppose nang hubag pang mata, dago kayong eye bags, wala maginilak ha mo nang nanagko ang eye bags, what day tulog-tulog or unsa no, feel nimo na just something wrong niya. So what will you do? Ibo ba siya duolon? And how would you react to the situation, that you're witnessing? Okay? I know that you will be having different kuana na unsa kay inyuha pong reactions niya. Now you also have to identify and explain the 5 aspects of a whole person in relation to the details of the story, and what is your conclusion about it. Unsa may nabuhat ni Therese, diba? So unsa may nabuhat niya, she was able to control her emotions and she didn't give in to the emotions nga nag-build up niya. Right? Kay most people adto siguro kung kanabitang kulang pagtulog, cramming kaayo kay na exam, stressful kay dating ang uban ana kay manguan na kanang sa ba ana oy di na lang lahi og kanabitang acceptance or lahi og pamaagi kung sa iyang buhaton sa iyang sitwasyon. Right? So, right now, your next activity is all about your holistic development. So, at least for Therese, she knows herself way better. Diba? Kaila sa siyang kaugalingon. When you say about holistic development, again ha, mo ni ang 5 kabuok. We will be talking about the different 5 aspects or 5 different aspects there. You've got your intellectual, emotional, physical, social, and your spiritual aspects nga kinahanglan nimo siyang ma-develop. So, for activity number 2, your pathways to my holistic development. So, what will you do? Ang inyong buhaton is, there will be a diagram nga akong ipakita later on. And so, you will just be writing 2 to 3 ways you will take to develop yourself holistically. So, mga pamaagi lang. So, since we were able to kaya bitang mas naila na to atong kaugalingon with the formulation or with the formation of your ideal self, no? I do hope na namoy mas klaro nga ideal self nga gusto ninyong makabuot yun with your age and situation right now. I'm hoping na namoy mas klaro nga image sa inyong ideal self nga gusto ninyong mahimong kamo. So, let us all develop yourself holistically in relation with the realization of your ideal self. Dapat related. Kaya di ba nagstorya naman taana nga dapat ay mga ideal self, kaya mga present self should be aligned. Okay? So write 2 to 3 ways you will take to develop yourself holistically. So, unsa man ang diagram, good man ba? O, manay akong diagram. So, manin nyo hang buhaton. So, pwede rin ninyong usbon ang inyong padulngan o unsa na diha. Pero, muna sa inyong pathway. So, physiological, that's your physical aspect. Okay? So, unsa man kay ha? Unsa may mga 2 to 3 ways or unsa kay ways nga imong gustong buhaton para mas ma-develop nimo ang imong physical aspect. How about your cognitive aspect or your intellectual? Next is your psychological. And of course, your social. And lastly is your spiritual aspect. So, again, you only have to provide at least 2 or 3 ways on how to improve these aspects for you to be developing holistically, for you to develop for you to ma-improve yourself. And yep, the term really is to develop holistically. Mo may gyud perfect nga to adto guro-guro ay pa layo-layo lang ni mamba, no? Now, let's proceed na lang for our lesson 2. Kaya pa man siguro. So lesson 2, it's all about mo ni inyong nagbasahan permi si thoughts, si feelings, ug si behavior, di ba? So it's all about your thoughts, your feelings and behaviors for holistic development. So again, related gihapon sa holistic development, ato ang klase kay it's all about developing a person holistically man siya. Okay, so for this lesson, let's try to analyze the diagram. And we will also answer the questions that will follow later. Diba? So from thoughts to behaviors or feelings, no, na siya cycle. Can you see that? Na siya mga araw-araw. So, unsa may nasuod sa inyong hunahunaan po niya, oy? Unsa may nahuna-hunaan ninyo sa thoughts? Unsa may nahuna-hunaan ninyo sa huna-huna? Sakto ba? Okay, so, what can you say about the diagram? Okay? So, hinoktoki sa ako no nakadjot. Pasila ako ng hinuklugi. Char. Hinuklugi, ganyan term. So, try to analyze the diagram. And let's try to answer the questions here. So, what have you understand with the diagram? So, may nasabtan ninyo itong diagram. Na thoughts, na feelings. Diba? Balikan natin itong diagram, ba? Na thoughts, na behavior, na feelings. Ang imong gihuna-huna, so may nasabtan na yung ginahuna, pwedeng maka-apekto sa inyong behavior, pwedeng maka-apekto sa inyong gipang bati-bati, na inyong gibati-bati po diha. Yung feelings and emotions is maka-apekto sa behavior. Diba? That is what the arrow is trying to imply sa iyang pagtudlo-tudlo diha. May kisya manudlo. So, unsa man their role sa imuhang thinking capacity, sa imuhang feelings and action? Unsa man yung role di ay? So, what is the role of what you think in your feelings and actions? Unsa man kay ha? So, technically, kung unsa imong nauna-hunaan, so it will affect also sa imuhang emotional aspect, di ba? Lain sa kayo og na nakahuna-huna ka og maayo. Nakahuna-huna ka og kana bitawng nice ka og kanang thoughts atau kanang panghuna-huna ba dahil ang imong feelings kay bati. So di sad siya murag related or sahi kayo. Next, what is the role of your actions with what you think and feel? Unsa pay role sa inyong actions sa imong gihuna-huna o imong gibati? So ang action diha is your resulting naman na siya siguro, di ba? Resulting kay kung you're thinking this and feeling this, so technically you will be you will be doing it. So mo siya imuhang related ra gyud kay siya. What is the role of your feelings to what you think and your actions pod? So it's all related to, so these questions are all related to your feelings, your behaviors, and of course your thoughts. Okay, so right now your activity number 3 for this module is all about monanisia. We will now be recalling situations that you have experienced recently atong balikan, no? May pa sila sana all mo balik. Pero ato silang huna-hunaon og balik ang imong mga sitwasyon, no? Basin lahi po ninyong huna-hunaon diha. So recall the situations that you experienced recently. Now you have to write them in the columns provided. So you will be creating your own columns or tables in your answer sheet, and again you just have to take a picture of it and then submit it in our virtual classroom. I will just be providing or creating a classwork later on. Okay? So identify your thoughts, your feelings and behaviors regarding with the specific situation. So write also in the last column on how it affects you as an adolescent. So duha lang ka minimum, but if you can give more, the merrier. Merry Christmas, everyone. Sorry. Okay, so that's your third activity for this module. And this is really my favorite part, our story time. So right now we'll have a short story about 2 different wolves. Diba? Wolves. Unsa man sa Tagalog kanang wolves. So na siya, iro. Di ba siya iro? Basta wolves. Kalimot ko sa Bisaya, kamo nalay bahala sa Bisaya ana. Okay, i-comment lang diha sa Bisaya ani. Okay, so our story is this one. One evening, an old Cherokee told his grandson about a battle that goes on inside people. He said, "My son, the battle is between 2 wolves inside us all. It is a terrible fight, and it is between 2 wolves. One is evil. His anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego." He continued, "The other is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith." The same fight is going on inside you and inside every other person too. The grandson thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather, "Which wolf will win?" The old Cherokee simply replied, "The one you feed." Okay, di ba nice kisog story? It's all about 2 wolves that ay lobo, ayun. Dugayo nagloading jud ko, no, di ba? 2 wolves or lobo in ourselves. Na daw tay perming natay the bad and the good side within us, which is really true, right? So asa may mas mudaog ana nilang duha? naara yun na sa kinsay pirmi natong pakanon. If we're always angry, we're always envious, we're always zealous, then we're feeding the bad wolf or the evil wolf. But if if we are being kind, we're being generous, truthful, being compassionate, being faithful, then we are feeding the good wolf. Right? Now, so you'll be answering this in your activity. So, what do the wolves stand for? Sa manang wolves, it's all about our bad end. So, para ninyo, unsa man itong mga wolves nag-represent? Next question. So, how do you nurture your thoughts? So, man nato pag-nurture, pagpalambo sa itong mga thoughts. And why is it that we should nurture our positive or good thoughts? Nganong kinahanglanon man nga ato silang i-nurture ang ato ang mga nindot nga or mga positibo nga mga panghuna-huna. And how are you aware of the two different opposing wolves operating within your mind? One of which leads to pain and diminished sense of life, and the other to a joyous, meaningful, and fulfilling life. Diba? Every now and then, you'll always have a debate with yourself, especially with doing things or deciding things. Oh, bahata na. Kay parang kung kanina bahata, diba? You will always have to debate with yourself. And that's actually the two wolves within you. Ang usa, you will always have the right and the right things to do, and ang usa is the bad wolf, the evil wolf. Mopud na siya ang mukuan sa labi na shortcuts, kaya bang para di ka maglisod kunuhay, o mga false truth or inana nga paagi. Now, when was the time you feel disappointed by the choice of behavior because you knew that there was a more positive option but you just didn't choose it? O naabay time sa inyong life nga nagdesisyon mo, like let us say kuan nanalay mo ang barkada nga, uy, manglakaw ta, mangkating ta, tara. Diba? Oh, so dahil good na choice dayon. Your bad wolf and your good wolf will have a debate. Ngayon ang good wolf, ayaw. Kay bad na siyang magkating. Kasabanda ni ma'am. Suko si mama, suko si papa, ma-disappoint sila. And then ang bad wolf pod mingon, kuyog, boring kina si ma'am diha. Malingaw pa ka dito, muni mauna. Diba? So, those are your two wolves trying to, it will help you decide. So, after choosing sa ibuhang decision, was there a time nga nagkuan mo na nasakpan mo sa guard pa karon or nasangit kapag kat nimo, and then you have said, may pa, wa kumukuyog. Naglingkod rata ko sa classroom. Di ba? So, mas positive ang option nga, naay option nung nga mas maayo pero wani mo pili. So, was there a time nga inana ta? If yes, then can you cite an example or situation nga na inana ang imong sitwasyon? Nahitabo ang imong sitwasyon. And okay, so this is what I've got for this. Inside each of us are two wolves. One is evil, one is good. Which wolf wins? The one you feed most. Okay. So, kitang tanan. So, mabito nang uban mo yun nga na, in every person, naagid na sila bad side and good side. So, magdepende ra gid na nimo as an individual kung unsa nga side ang imuhang mas perming i-feed, imong perming gamiton, imong perming pakanon sa ibuhang mga panghuna-huna, actions and everything. Diba? So, nganong na may bad people, nganong na may mga mangingilad? Because it's what they feed themselves. Right? So, inana nga pamaagi. Okay, so now let's have our reading time. Are you still okay? Okay pa ba mo? So, the power triad. So, actually, it's the last reading. So, di mag-all. Okay, so, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So, knowing which wolf to feed is the first step towards recognizing you have control over your own self. diba? Dapat ma-recognize nimo and you identify first ikaw unsa may mong i-feed adto, is it the evil or the good wolf? So after recognizing that, then mas makakontrol na kasi mong kaugalingon, diba? Have you ever had thoughts, feelings, or acted in ways that were unacceptable to yourself but felt powerless to control? Oh, diba? Ako permi ko ani ka makakuan, maka-feel, no? Even right now. So, naging times nga, feel ni mo kay di mao, pero since wala kay say about it, nang wala kay puhan, since wala kay control nga to change it, so, imo na siyang buhaton. Diba? Will there be way? I mean, was there a time already nga nahitabo sa inyong self? Next, the purpose of this story is to help you find ways to manage your mind so that you can live more in accordance with what your own judgment says is best for you. So as we grow up, we gradually become aware of the many things in the external world which are largely beyond our ability to control. So, di man ta si kuan, mga superhero nga makontrol na to ang palibot, ang time. So, kung ikaw di ka mag-move on, ang time mo, padayon gid na siya. So, otropod na, di na gid na to siya ma-control, powerless gid ta ana nga pamaagi. So, these include other people in general, di ba? Di ba nato na makontrol ang uban? We cannot control how they think of us, how they perceive us, sa ilang actions, sa ilang isulti, di na nato sila makontrol. And most events in our lives, di punta nato na makontrol. Tanan nga panghitabo is beyond our control. So initially, this is difficult to accept. But a more shocking realization is that there are many things about ourselves that we seem powerless to control. So some of these are our own thoughts, feelings, and actions which unfortunately can be the source of much distress. Yes, diba? Sahay, di na to malikayan nga mag-una-una og mga di mao or kanitong mind ba patakalagagdagan. Di na to siya makontrol pod usahay. So it may be thoughts such as I cannot stop sama ani nga mga thoughts. I cannot stop hating my teacher for not giving me high grades. Diba? Grabe. And it may involve an emotion like, my girlfriend left me and I cannot stop feeling sad, lonely, and unloved. Una na dayon say mga bad thoughts because of the situations nga iyahang naagian. It can also be in the form of a behavior such as the inability to control one's craving for food, such as cakes and chocolates. Labi na og anang chocolate lover ka. So, sometimes nang mahitabo gid na no nga. Ala, uy, kalami gid sa cake sa gadahit ka. Pero lami, jud kaayo ka lami. Labi na og cake lover ka or chocolate lover ka. So, there will really be times nga anang after nimo kit-kit or nahurot na nimo, then you realize, hala, kamo na isumpay sa hala. Okay? Now, let's have examples of this situation. So, when we encounter stressful situations, sometimes we may tell ourselves negative things that only increase or maintain our stress. Diba? Na times nga, stress ti gani ta, sa atong na sitwasyon nga stress na ta, ato na hinong sutian og mga bati atong kaugalingon, di masamot na hinon ka, stress gyud ta. So research shows that our thoughts affects our feelings, which then affect our behavior. So apektado na gyud na siya. Kung unsay mong gihuna-huna, apektaran imong feelings dayon, mapektaran din imong actions or behavior. So example kay, you're studying for a midterm. Doon ka. Unya, ni-take ka og quiz. So, you just took a quiz in class and receive a poor grade. Uy, nag-quiz ka niya, bagsak or gamay kay kagrado. So, imong thought dayon kay, I must be stupid. I'm definitely going to fail this exam. Diba? Negative na kaayo siya dating. Now, since negative ang iyang thinking na diri, unhealthy na kay siya thinking ani niya, ang iyang feeling na mapiktahan na. You will now be sad, frustrated, and you will be stressed, and di ka ka-accept nga gamay kay kag score. Diba? So since you're sad, frustrated, and stressed, it will now affect your behavior. Why? Unsa na may mga possible outcome ana? So you will now choose not to study. Di naman ka magduon. Sigag doon man kay marong ra di ay ka. Or unsa mabagsak ra di ka, gamay ra di ka grado. So mag-inom na lang ko, di na lang ko musud sa akong classroom, di na ako musud sa akong klase, which is more by buhaton or outlet na hinoon sa uban. No? Magto ang parents ka na eskwela, pero wa na hinuon di ay kay wa na to na sa friends tag sige og kuyog kay usaray rason kay na feel niya nga stupid siya, di gid siya maayo niya, wa na frustrated siya ana nga pamaagi. So your thoughts affects your feelings, and your feelings affects your behavior. How about if, diba? How about if let's have a positive cycle. So alternative niya. So you can reduce stress by tracking your own thoughts and becoming more aware of how they affect your mood and your reactions. Diba? Imo siyang i-consider sa imuhang gipanghuna-huna diya. Imo siyang mas imo siyang mas ila-ilahon ay or no, not ila-ilahon, pero dapat mas aware ka kung unsa imong gihuna-huna, nga aware sad ka nga kung unsa imong nahuna-hunaan, makaapekto na siya sa imong moods and of course your actions. So increasing awareness is the first step in making a change for the better. You have the power to change your thoughts so that they are more positive and lead to feeling better and making healthy choices. Okay? So example ani kay, ang thoughts na ko kay ni lukluk. Asa naman akong thoughts gibutang ani I thought you lost it. Nawala gid akong thought, ay di na gid makita. Let me try to grab. Atong tan-awon. Asa naman tong thoughts na to ani? Okay, check na to ha. Ano ni siya? Ay, na-delete. Okay, na-delete ko di ay siya. And wala pa ko under rin. Okay, so let us try to have the positive na lang, 'di ba? Wala ko'y positive panana. But let's try to give our positive thought ani niya. So na fail ka sa exam. So you can tell yourself nga this can't kuan, 'di ba? Wala din ako siya na edit. Not choosing not to study with friends. Okay, one moment. Alright, to continue. So, sa thoughts na to ani, again, wala na ako siya na edit. Pero again, since we are in the positive cycle already. So, instead of like thinking you're stupid, you can think that, I can say to yourself that, hey, I know I am smart. I am smart enough to do well on this exam. The quiz grade didn't really reflect what I know. Diba? Numbers na to, feel nimo, walang gid mo gawas sa imong gitun-an. Diba? You can have to console yourself. So with that thinking, you will be feeling encouragement. Mas ma-encourage ka nga, mas siguro ako katuon atong mga gibdang gawas, pitun-an ako tabi para mas dagko kog score next time. Diba? And then you'll be confident also nga next ka exam ni ma'am or ni sir makapasta ra gyud ko, and you'll be motivated to push forward, diba? And since you're feeling so good and motivated and encouraged, so unsa na may behavior nimo ana, since motivated ka nga mas madako imong score next time, so imong behavior is mas magtuon ka. So you will now go to office hours and you will study in the library baron. Mas mag-spend kasi mohang study time. At the same time, you will also be sleeping early para mas makapahuway ang imong utok instead of magsigig duwa og cellphone, magsigig og laag. So, muna na siya mga possible behavior nimo because you thought positively about the situation. So, in every aspect, guys, in every situations, we cannot control man gyud positive or negative nga mahitabo. di na to makontrol unsay possible nga maabot nato, but it's all about how we think about that situation. I always tell myself nga a problem is not a problem if you won't think of it as a problem. Diba? Kung para sa uban problema na, pero kung para nimo dili ra, then it will never be a problem for you. Ana ra siya og situation. So your thinking ability or your thinking skills is very important, kay kung unsay imong thoughts about it, it will affect how your feelings, no? How you'll feel about it, and lastly is how you will behave, your reactions towards it. Alright, so let's be more positive. Mas positive instead of focusing sa negative aspect niya. So last is our reflection. Yes, pero hapit na gyud ko mag 1 hour na jud ko. So reflection. So in your reflection, I have posted already in your virtual classroom about your reflection. So ang siri lang to ninyo. I do hope that you learned some things sa atong discussion about developing yourself holistically. Okay? So again, do not forget that your thoughts affects your feelings, and your feelings affects your behavior. And your behavior is already what is being perceived by other people. So you're creating your self-image. Okay, now before I end my discussion, let me leave you this. Let me borrow a quote by Mahatma Gandhi, which is, your beliefs becomes your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. That's from Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. I am really so sorry if niabot ta og 1 hour, but I do hope na amoy nakatunan about developing your self holistically. Okay? So, thank you so much for staying with me, and have a great day. So, visit my classroom again do not forget to visit my classroom for your other lessons. Okay? So, thank you again, and goodbye.